Zach Abraham, welcome back to the newly rebranded Swamp Watch, which I like.
Yeah. We're swamp watchers.
We're swamp
right?
watching. Yeah.
Yeah. Wish we didn't have to, but it's dirty. Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. DC swamp, Washington State swamp, California swamp, swamps everywhere. So we're swamp watching. All right. I want to talk about what's happening post, Charlie Kirk's assassination. It's been really fascinating to watch. So for a long time, and you know this, conservatives have just been demonized. Like they're, corporate America hates them. It's nobody's, you don't see like this normalization of conservatives where liberals are normalized through everything. I feel like we're seeing a really significant shift in that. Like after Charlie Kirk was murdered, one of the most stunning things to me, I don't know if you saw this, but the New York Yankees, they put a big picture of him up and had like a moment of silence for him and didn't couch it in, had controversial or whatever opinions. It was just like, we're doing this because people are hurting. And that was like, oh my gosh, you would never see a conservative, honored in any way in sort of,
no.
Are we going to see like a shift in corporate America on this, you think?
I don't know. Obviously, I hope that's the case. What I do think that's important though, is I think that you're getting, you're starting to get more of these sort of miniature awakening moments where I think both his death and then especially the response to his death is opening some eyes, right? And this may be something that is going to spur a sea change, but even if it doesn't spur the sea change, it certainly puts us one step closer to it. Because that's something that is very, in my opinion, apolitical and extraordinarily dangerous and toxic that needs to get, you've got a large swath of people in this country that I think are otherwise decent people that are convinced because they've been told this, that people with differing, on our side of the aisle are Nazis and fascists and literally, hey, they've been told all that. They don't know it's nonsense. They really don't know that that's not what anybody on this side wants to do. As a matter of fact, we're trying to alert you to the fact that your side's trying to do that to you by attacking free speech and parental rights and all these other things, right? So I think the humanizing of the right is going to have a really big impact. I mean, and look at the results in both Trump's elections. If you think about the fact that those election results took place prior to this, right? Whatever it is that awakens more people, it's going to change the electorate. It really is. And I really hope it does. Not so my side wins, but if we continue on this path, this ends in one of two ways. Tyranny, well, one or two or both ways. Tyranny, civil war, both. That's where you're headed, right? And nobody wins, right? Those people out there, bring on the fight. Dude, come on. Are you kidding me? The only reason you're saying that is because you didn't grow up in a civil war zone, right? Yeah. And the level of vitriol and decency is descended to a level, and it really makes you bitter at the media, bitter at the politicians who have supported this, because I think that's what I'm not making any excuses for this kid at all, okay? But I do accept the fact that he genuinely believed Charlie Kirk was all those things he's not.
Yeah.
Right? I believe he genuinely believed that, and that is a problem.
Yeah, and I think to your point of, and that's what Charlie Kirk said, is once we stop talking, that's why he would do these debates, we lose the humanity in one another, and it's easier to resort to violence. And I think this othering of conservatives in all facets of life, and in corporate America to a large extent, I think that changing actually will have a big role to play in lowering the political temperature in this country. Is like, now all of a sudden you're seeing Charlie Kirk, a very notable conservative, and unfortunately it's because he was killed, but being celebrated by the New York Yankees. And I think they gave him a permanent seat at the stadium where the Oregon Ducks play because he was a big Oregon Ducks fan. And then also you're seeing a lot of corporations come out and fire and apologize for people who are celebrating his assassination. And I mean, conservatives, we're used to like being the ones on the opposite side just for having, really rational opinions like, hey, vaccine mandates are a bad idea, or, men can't become women and we lose our jobs and get doxxed and all of these things. And now we're starting to see corporations take it seriously when conservatives are, treated as less than. I just think, from an economic perspective, I had one awakening moment on this where I started to realize that like all the powers that be just despise conservatives. I was standing in line at a Target, and there was a big thing of magazines. And I don't know why it hit me that day, but there wasn't a single conservative featured on the cover of any of the magazines. And, it's all these different areas and fashion and culture and whatever it is, the trades, no conservatives. And that always weirded me out because it's like, as a business, why would you want to alienate half of a potential client base?
As a rational human being, why would you only listen to one side of a debate and instantly and without thought, in a knee-jerk fashion, demonize the other side? It's out and out lies. It's out and out, you're sitting around, we've been, people on our side, including him, have been called everything, and you're sitting there going, why don't you just judge this man on the merits of what he's saying?
Yeah.
It's not hate speech. To say that a man with a penis cannot have a baby is not hate. How can something that all of humanity believed up until 7 years ago now be hate speech? Well, you think how ridiculous. That's the way it was with racism? Nonsense. There's always been huge percentages of the population, thousands of years back, that thought racism was untoward, right, and bad. That's never been the case, right? That's kind of why we had a civil war. Half the country liked it, half the country didn't. Right? Racism and subjugation and slavery have always been objected to.
Yeah.
Right? Believing that somebody with a penis can have a baby, that's a new one. Right? That's new.
Yeah, truth isn't hate. And this,
right.
But I do think that if this is going to lead to, and I think it'll lead to a lot of awakenings in America for conservatism, for Christianity as well. But I think if it can lead to a more of a normalization of conservative views as not being hateful and bigoted and extreme, they're just a different opinion and a different perspective. And we see conservatives sort of welcomed, not that some of us even want to be welcomed anymore, but welcomed into, sort of mainstream culture and, celebrated by corporations and movies or whatever it is, the places that they've sort of been kept out of. I think it'll do a lot for the country, and it will lower the temperature quite a bit. And I think that these companies will find out. It'll also make them a lot of money,
Well,
so.
Yeah. And then the other thing too, just the absurdity of all of this on the face of it is, let's turn it into a math problem. Explain to me how 50% of a population can be extreme.
Yeah.
That literally isn't the definition.
Yep.
Right? Like 50% of your population is your political opponent. They're not extreme. Now, can they have factions inside of them that are extreme? Sure. And that clearly exists on both sides. Right? We've seen plenty of evidence. As a matter of fact, the most vociferous evidence, the most obvious evidence we've seen is that you got radical, violent extremists on the left. I'm not saying they don't exist on the right. Of course they do. But it's not what we've been seeing.
Mm-mm.
And what have we been told? That white hatred and white supremacy, that's the biggest threat America faces.
Yeah. I mean, Joe Biden said that. The president of the United States said that when it was demonstrably false.
He didn't get shot at. You know what I mean? He didn't get shot at.
Good point.
What I think you see is, and I don't want to deduce Charlie's life to this because he is somebody that I have immense admiration for and had immense admiration for him prior to this. Just because, first of all, I agree with the vast majority of what he says. More importantly, I love and applaud the way that he broadcasted, right? I love that he welcomed debate and civil debate. And I just thought it was great, especially on college camp. He is doing on college campuses what colleges are supposed to do.
Yep.
That's the whole idea, is bring together diverse ideas and have it out. Best idea wins. Now we've turned them into indoctrination centers. You can't say what you think, right? Like, just how absurd is that? And then we hate him for it. And it's just, the reasoning is so shallow and so circular, it makes your head hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also think with some of the normalization we're seeing of conservatives, corporations, baseball teams, whatever it is, I also wonder how much of it is they've seen, because like the demographic for companies that sell stuff, most companies. Trying to capture that younger demographic is like the golden goose, right? Like we want to build customers for life. Well, I think they're waking up to like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of young people in this country who are conservatives. So if we want to build brand loyalty, if we want to have customers for life, maybe we shouldn't treat them as hateful bigots who are beneath us. And I wonder if part of that is why you're seeing these corporations react so swiftly when one of their employees is caught, saying something horrible about Charlie Kirk's death.
That is probably the case. And bear with me here because I hope it's not. And let me explain what I mean. I hope they're doing it because they have realized that there is substantial danger in not doing it.
Yeah.
Right? That this is going in a very ugly direction. And if Charlie Kirk is deserving of getting murdered, we've got serious problems in this country, right? Like, and I'm talking like red alert, ring the freaking bell. This is not a guy that's out there advocating child slavery. This is not a guy out there pushing forced polygamy. This is right. And to demonize it in that way, what I hope is happening is that they're pulling back because they saw over the abyss and went, wait a second, we are ignoring something here and we need to address this because I hate the blame pointing. I just think this is a particular situation where you have to, because we have a problem that needs to get addressed or more people are going to die. The way that they have painted conservatives is a wrong, it is a lie, and it is dangerous.
Yeah.
And you're reaping the whirlwind for it. Now, here's what else you should know. And I think you're starting to see signs of people on the left understanding this. If you think that insanity is only going to be aimed at your political enemies, you're not paying attention. Insanity burns everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're fomenting it, and it's going to turn on you too. And we are at a red alert stage in this country, and we got to pull back. We got to pull back from the brink.
Yep. I agree. All right. Let's get down to business. Do a little watchdogging. So there was some good news from Fox Business. If you don't live in Washington State, this is good news. The headline from Fox Business: gasoline's burden on Americans' wallets is the lightest it's been since 2005, with oil prices expected to fall $50 per barrel by early 2026. So if you're in Washington State reading that, you might be really confused because Washington State's gas prices this week, for the second time, became the highest gas prices in the nation, almost $5 a gallon on average, even above California, Hawaii, and Oregon, which were usually third, somewhere behind California and Hawaii. Now, Zach, you're a smart man. Help viewers who don't know understand why our gas prices are so high.
Well, it's interesting because I'd say I'm old enough, but they haven't quit using this trope or this line. But right, it's the big evil petroleum companies, right?
Yeah, well, right, yeah.
And they're price gouging and making money off human. So right now in the state of Washington, those big evil petroleum companies make less per barrel than the Washington state government makes, right? They are more than doubling the cost at the pump. So they're making substantially more profit off of it. It is, and this is what this state continues to vote for. Keep sticking it to us, right? You want to sit there, you're mad at Donald Trump about inflation. I mean, first of all, he wasn't at the helm when it started, but even if that's the case, everybody in the economy has to pay for gas, right?
Yeah.
One way, shape, or form. Even if you work from home, you get things delivered to your house, that factors into the cost, right? One of the most simple ways to take the pressure of inflation off people is to A, lower food prices some way, B, lower fuel prices. Now, what's amazing is that we've never had the ability to lower fuel prices as much as we can now. And do you hear, I hear Mr. Ferguson talk about helping out Washington families all the time. Easiest way to do it right now would be a 50% reduction of the state gas tax.
Yep.
Okay? Easy. Do you see him doing that? Nope.
No, we just raised it.
What is he doing? He's raised it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, when I say this, I'm not making light of domestic abuse, but it's that old line, hit me again, Ike. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like we have that type of abusive relationship here with our own state government and the constituency. It's like an abusive relationship. You continue to get abused, disavowed, treated like garbage, talked down to, lied to, and you keep voting them in.
Well, and it's even worse than that because it's like you see that it's happening, but then they convince you and gaslight you to blame someone else. How many Washingtonians do you think read that news that Washington has the highest gas prices in the nation and immediately blame Orange Man bad? Oh, it must be Donald Trump.
100%.
And then they don't see the news that, oh, gas prices nationwide are the lowest they've been since 2005, adjusting for inflation. And they don't see that. And the other element, of course, in addition to the gas tax, is the Climate Commitment Act. And I mean, Washingtonians had a chance to repeal it. They were totally lied to and gaslit into keeping it. And now we're seeing, this latest increase in the average cost of gas here comes after the latest carbon auction. So here we have a government that's like, do this, it's good for you, good for the environment. And then they refuse to acknowledge that it's leading to the higher prices at the pump. And then, of course, like you said, they'll vilify everyone but their own policy. So they'll vilify the big bad oil companies, but they won't talk about how they're forcing the big bad oil companies to buy these carbon credits, that they're passing the costs along to us. So it's hard, so hard for me, because gas prices are one of those things, if you've ever been poor or struggled, it really impacts people's lives profoundly because they don't have a choice, right? They have to drive. And if you've never, I always use this, if you've never, like these politicians have never stood at a gas pump and decided whether they could afford to put in like $5 or $6, And
I still do that. I still pull into the gas station and I get a little bit tickled and a little bit nervous for a second.
Well, it's because you've been there.
Yes. And I remember what that felt like. $5. Is that enough to get me back there? Right. I remember being stuck in a parking lot and I had to have my mother-in-law Venmo me money so I could get home.
Yep.
Right. And yeah, you know what that's like. And you also know if you cut a tax on that and lowered that number by $1, and people need to understand that. We're not talking about it's adding to the cost. It is more, you are paying more in the tax than the gas costs. It's 100+% tax. And he's sitting there talking about affordability for families. You got to be kidding me. And everybody pays that tax.
It breaks my heart that they lie to people about it so much. I spoke to the Gas and Petroleum Association, and they were talking about having some of their gas station owners or the companies that operate them put these little placards above every gas pump because they're sick of being blamed. They're sick of the ones being vilified for it. So they were going to spring for the cost, and I don't know if they're going to end up doing it, of putting a little placard that's adjustable on top of every gas pump so you can see the full breakdown, like, do you know why your gas is so expensive? Like, scan this QR code for the latest details on the gas tax. I'm like, you guys should totally do that because they're going to blame you anyway. So give people a tool so they can understand why gas prices are so high, or they're just going to blame you and the orange bad man.
Yeah, well, and here's the price breakdown. This is roughly speaking, so bear with me. It's not exact, but it's pretty close. Gas station owner is making a few cents a gallon. Okay. Oil company is selling it for about $2.25 a gallon. Now, remember, they've got their costs, so they're making far less than that. U.S. government or Washington state government's raking in about $2.75 a gallon.
It's crazy.
And them's the facts, right? So, and then you sit there and you listen, we're not going to raise taxes on you. And you're like, well, can you raise them any more than, we're over 100% on gas. Don't tempt him.
Don't tempt them.
It's not just, hey, there are people on your side of the aisle that are good, honest people that won't lie to the constituency and will do the right thing. Can we just even elect those people?
Well, and I'd even settle for people who can tell the truth.
Right?
I've always said about the Climate Commitment Act, had Jay Inslee come out, former Governor Jay Inslee, and said, hey, it's going to increase gas prices. That's what it's designed to do. I would have still disagreed with the policy, but at least he would have been honest about and allowed people to plan for what was to come. He can't even tell the freaking truth about it. So I'll take a Democrat who can tell the truth.
And then insane. And if you will look at me and say, here's why we're doing it. We believe the benefits outweigh the costs. Right. And I'm going to look at you and go, I disagree, but here's what I'm not going to think. I'm not going to think you're an enemy of the people. I'm not going to hate you. Right. And also that facilitates honest debate. It's just, do you ever catch yourself? Oh, you're a little bit younger than I am, but do you ever, I don't mean that as an insult. I don't
know how old you are.
Maybe I should say you're a lot younger. Maybe I should say you're a lot younger.
How old are you?
I'm 43.
Oh, I'm just a little. I'm 37. 7.
Oh, 37. Yeah. So we're both relatively young, but I catch myself discussing these things every once in a while, and it's kind of like I throw myself off because I'm like, wait a second, this is literally the exact opposite of the Democratic Party that I was discussing as a kid.
Yeah.
I was really into politics as a kid, and I'm just like, so you want wars, you're cheering the fact that people get murdered. You want the government taxing more on gas than the fossil fuel companies are making. You don't want to open debate. You don't want free exchange of ideas on college campuses. You're just looking at them going, so basically your platform is just the opposite of what it was 40 years ago?
Yeah.
It's the narrative drift is just shocking.
Well, I mean, they were the party of slavery. Now they want us in ideological slavery. So, old habits die hard.
Yeah, at least they're consistent with that. I mean, and that's the thing where I don't understand where those alarm bells inside of people's psyches don't go off, where, there's a lot of historical examples of this. And the easy way to pick the good and the bad guys was who was suppressing debate.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Soft totalitarianism for sure.
Yeah. And every time that leads you toward the danger and the bad guy. So and to get back to your original question, I sincerely hope that a lot of this is a beginning of an awakening and a rehumanizing of the culture, because I think that's the most concerning thing. There's a lot of concerning things, but I think the most concerning thing is that you have such a large swath of society out there that believes that half of the country is their mortal enemy. And that terrifies me.
Yeah, it is terrifying. All right, let's end by helping people make some money moves. Elon bought $1 billion in Tesla stock. Why does it matter?
He's just trying to pump the stock.
Oh,
and
okay.
I think part of it might be he's not happy about the fact that he's no longer the world's richest man.
Wait, when did that happen? Who's the world's richest man?
Larry Ellison just passed him. Oracle stock went up like 45%, and he just passed him.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry, Elon.
Yeah, and the reason I say that, I'm not cheering against Elon. I think he's done great things for our country, and I wish him nothing but the best. But do not take that as a sign to go out and buy Tesla stock.
Okay.
So one of the first things, and again, remember, these are rules. There's no investing rule that works 100% of the time, right? Other than to stay invested, right? But so these things could be wrong. But when you look at what we call inside buying or selling in a company, the first thing we try to figure out is what that sale or purchase was as a percentage of their net worth, right? Because there are times where you'll see a CEO step in and buy what is the equivalent of like 30% of his net worth. Okay. It typically doesn't mean he thinks the stock's going down.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And typically means that he thinks the stock's really cheap. $1 billion is a lot of money, but remember, that's less than 1% of Elon's net worth.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So it really is a drop in the bucket. Meaning I don't think you can read anything into it other than he was trying to engender a stock pop. Maybe he's trying to push his stock higher because he wants to sell equity. What I will tell you, though, is that I don't think that there has ever been a more dangerous time to own Tesla stock, regardless of what you think of Tesla. The core business is evaporating underneath them right now. If you're looking at the stock, you're not going to see it. Okay. But the auto sales are declining double digits all around the world. Okay. Their margins have evaporated. They went from 28% net margins to like 6.5%.
Wow.
Okay. What does that mean? That means they've lowered prices, but sales are still dropping. So what does that mean? It means that even when they're barely making a profit, they can't sell enough of these things.
Yeah.
Okay. So meanwhile, the stock is hitting an all-time high and an all-time high valuation on a bunch of things that people are excited about that don't currently exist. Right? Well, they're going to be the leaders in full self-driving. They're not. And if you go look at Google stock, you've been hearing me talk about Google for a long time. It hit a fresh new all-time high today, right? It's rallied probably 40, 50% in the last 3 months. Okay. It's getting re-rated. One of the reasons why, it's the leader in full self-driving. So it's kind of like politically, you see it in the stock market where a bunch of investors believe a bunch of things that just aren't true, right? It's not my opinion. But when I see a stock price going like this while the underlying business is getting decimated, that's something that you want to be aware of, right? And I think Elon Musk is an incredible businessman, and I think Elon Musk can be successful at whatever he does. But you're looking at a situation now where not only does his robot business and self-driving taxi business need to be successful, it needs to be successful enough to fill in the hole that Tesla's leaving on the balance sheet, right? And if all they're going to do is sell cars for self-driving robo-taxis, which they currently are way behind the tech on, then that's a completely different company with significantly lower margins, and it shouldn't be valued this way.
Yeah.
So At this price, I mean, look, and I could be wrong. I've been wrong on the stock many times, but in the past, the company was still growing, right? I just thought it was overpriced. Now watching it hit new all-time highs while its underlying business is getting nuked, it's a little unnerving, honestly. Yeah. And I would just tell people to be very careful.
Yeah, and just a heads up for people that you're going to be having one of your live webinars coming up October 2nd. And I think just every time there's a lot of confusion happening in the global markets and all this stuff, I think it's good to just sort of get back to the basics. And that's what the webinar is at, back to basics. So what are people going to learn about if they attend the webinar?
Well, I think, and I'm probably sound like a broken record, but we're going to really highlight what we've been doing this year. And because I don't want people last year, the fund I run was up 16%, underperformed the market. Market was up 22.5 or 23, something like that. This year, market's up about 11, I want to say, and our main fund is up 29. And I'm not, that alone isn't why you should pick somebody, right? People have up and down years, that kind of stuff. But what we've been talking about all year is, guys, there's a giant disconnect around the world, okay? Everybody's piled into US stocks because it has been the only market for the last 15 years. The delta got too wide on relative valuations. And there's just stuff out there in other markets that is just too cheap, right? And we were just saying, you need to get back to basics. You need to get back to a diversified stock portfolio. And you're like, oh, I own ETFs. You're not diversified. 40% of your account is focused in those same tech stocks at the top of the market. So you're not diversified. You own a tech fund, not the S&P 500, right? And so just explaining, hey guys, doing this will avoid risk, right? And lower your risk. But by lowering our average, we've carried about 8 to 10% cash on the balance sheet this year. We've been hedged. We're more diversified than the rest of the market. Those are all things that are supposed to cost you returns, right? We're beating the market by over 15%. That's what I want people to understand. Not that we will always beat the market by 15%. Not that we will always outperform. But this is one of the rarest. I've never seen an opportunity like this in my life where you can buy such cheap assets at such cheap prices and nobody wants it. It's kind of mind-blowing. And so we just want to explain to them, look, here's some perspective. Here's where we're at. In rest of the world assets have never been cheaper when compared to US. Okay. What does that mean? I'm not entirely sure. Nobody knows the future, but what it does mean for sure is it's a great time to make sure you're properly diversified. Yeah. And that doesn't just mean US stocks.
I love it. Well, that's going to be October 2nd, 3:30 p.m. So good learning opportunity too. So if people want to sign up, they can sign up. It's totally free. KnowYourRiskPodcast.com, KnowYourRiskPodcast.com. All right, Zach Abraham, thank you, sir. We'll see you next week.
Thank you very much. I'll see you for some more swamp watching.
Swamp watching.